Welcome to the Dark Tales. The midnight footsteps, the haunting of the Room of Secrets. Once upon a time, in the heart of a desolate village, stood a house that had been assembled piece by piece. Its construction began in the mid-1800 seconds when expanding one's dwelling meant purchasing rooms from neighboring houses and connecting them. A seemingly harmless practice at the time, but little did they know the horrifying secrets that lurked within those walls. Generation after generation, my family expanded the house until it became an immense structure, capable of accommodating around 30 people. Every Christmas, we gathered there for joyous family celebrations, capturing picture-perfect moments around the warm fireplace. However, as the years passed, the aging house began to decay, prompting my grandmother to initiate renovations. It was during this renovation period that the true horror unfolded. At that time, my other grandfather, still grieving the loss of my grandmother, accompanied us on our holiday trips, seeking solace and distraction. On one particular occasion, my parents decided to bring him along to the house, while my living grandmother and father supervised the ongoing renovations. When we arrived, everything appeared normal. However, due to the ongoing construction, my usual bedroom was unavailable. I was left with no choice but to sleep in the smallest and airiest room in the entire house. This room, which had now been transformed into a bathroom, had a sinister past. It had served as my grandmother's and great-aunt's bedroom, then my father's cousins, and it retained the remnants of their creepy toys and aged plushies. Its unsettling atmosphere was intensified by an old blue and white painting of my great-grandfather that seemed to scrutinize me relentlessly. That first night, a sense of unease gripped me. The room's claustrophobic ambience and its connection to a chilling corridor, adorned with stone walls and a ceiling that amplified every sound, did little to ease my discomfort. To compound matters, my great-grandfather, the only doctor in the area, had left behind a glass cabinet filled with ancient vials of medical liquids and syringes. Despite my mounting fear, I suppressed my emotions, convincing myself that it was just my imagination running wild. Night fell. As my grandfather and I retired to bed, I could hear my grandmother and parents exiting the living room, extinguishing the light, and retiring to their respective rooms on the opposite side of the vast house. Sleep eluded me that night, partly due to my aversion to the room and its foreboding surroundings. However, I eventually succumbed to weariness, placing my phone under the pillow, playing a YouTube video, and covering myself completely, save for my nose, to escape the stuffy air within. In the midst of the night, I awoke to a nightmarish vision, as if my dreams had transcended into reality. Many of you may have experienced such horrors. In this nightmarish realm, I found myself surrounded by a hazy, grey backdrop akin to blurred vision without my glasses. Amidst the haze, a distant, chilling laughter echoed, originating from a young girl. Gradually, the silhouette of a girl in a tattered dress materialized, her dark form blending into the blurred grayness. Panic surged through me, and as I took a deep breath, hoping to awaken from this nightmare, an eerie laughter resonated within the house. However, what I heard next was far from the laughter of a young girl. With my head still concealed, I listened intently, my perception of time distorted. It seemed as though only a short while had passed since I last woke up. I checked my phone, and the time displayed was approximately 2:20 a.m. Suddenly, a heavy, resounding footstep reverberated in the hallway just outside the bedroom. My breathing halted, thought ceased, and my mind struggled to comprehend the terrifying sound I had just heard. Another footstep. I swiftly covered my phone's screen, extinguishing its light, and remained frozen beneath the covers. The footsteps continued, gradually receding into the distance, until it seemed as if they reached the far end of the corridor. My body tensed, praying that the intruder would depart through the front door. Yet, with every turn, they returned, inching closer and closer, freezing me in perpetual dread. I attempted to stifle my breath, to silence the very essence of my being, but my efforts only resulted in suppressed gasps for air. I desperately sought to rationalize the situation, convincing myself that it was merely my father wandering the house at night, but deep down, I knew his footsteps did not possess such weight. Then the footsteps retreated, hope flickered, if only for a moment. My body began to relax, longing for respite, when, dreadfully, the footsteps resumed, drawing near once more. My muscles tensed, straining under the weight of mounting exhaustion, while perspiration drenched my brow. Immobile and incapable of escape, I endured the torment, unable to move or even take a breath. The footsteps disappeared again. In my thoughts, I pleaded for their departure, but they returned, drawing nearer with each step. At this point, my body ached from the prolonged strain, as if I had endured an arduous workout for hours on end. And yet, the terror persisted, unyielding. The footsteps continued their macabre dance along the corridor, tormenting my pounding heart. Each approach amplified its beats, while each retreat offered a slight reprieve. It felt as though an invisible force manipulated my very heartstrings, and I remained at its mercy. Finally, utterly exhausted, I drifted back into an uneasy slumber. I could not ascertain whether it was my body's instinctual response, offering me a brief respite, or if it was simply a continuation of my torment. Upon waking, nothing had changed. The heavy footsteps still echoed up and down the corridor, creeping closer and then receding. It felt as though days had passed, devoid of any sliver of sunlight penetrating the partially opened bedroom doors. It seemed as though my body could bear no more, yet the grip of panic refused to relinquish its hold on my muscles. Suddenly, the footsteps ceased. I strained to hear, unsure if it was truly over. My muscles relaxed, and the surge of exhaustion washed over me, more potent than ever before. I glanced at my phone, and it displayed 5:30 a.m. Gratitude overwhelmed me. Thank goodness. For a while longer, I remained motionless, ensuring the absence of any presence within the bedroom or echoes of footsteps in the hallway. When I was certain that tranquility had returned, I turned in bed. The chicken wire mattress base emitted a faint whine as I lowered the covers just enough to cast a wary glance at the bedroom doors. They stood silent, slightly ajar, permitting a soft glow from the dawning day to filter through. Relief washed over me, releasing me from the grip of perpetual tension. I could breathe freely once more. But then another footstep echoed through the house. I jolted, quickly covering my head once more, and another step followed, and another. These steps were lighter, filled with an almost jovial energy, as if a delightfully wicked force roamed the house. It was my grandmother. Seizing the opportunity, I immediately rose from the bed, refusing to spend another second in that room. I joined my grandmother in her morning routines, even accompanying her to buy bread at the early hour of 6:30. The thought of leaving the house consumed me like never before. I never disclosed the night's horrors to my grandmother, though she questioned why I had risen so early. Deciding not to worry her, I refrained from sharing my experience. However, before we departed, I meticulously checked all the doors and windows, searching for signs of an intruder. To my dismay, I found nothing amiss. All the entrances were securely locked from the inside, as they should have been. In the following days, I adamantly refused to sleep in that accursed room. Instead, I sought solace in my grandmother's bedroom, despite the intimidating presence of an enormous Narnia-like wardrobe with an imposing mirror that never failed to send shivers down my spine. Nevertheless, it was a far more preferable option than enduring the relentless torment of the night I had experienced. That bedroom no longer exists. During the renovations, it was transformed into a bathroom, a change for which I am immensely grateful. With 10 other bathrooms within the house, I have no reason to linger in that dreadful space ever again.